Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Sarah McCrum, and I'm here with my friend and colleague, Forrest Wilson. And we're going to be talking here about a live event that we're running in the Netherlands called the Wellbeing Economy. And we've been given a bunch of questions to answer. So we're going to answer those questions for you. Forrest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, my name's Forrest. I'll just say hello for now and say it's good to be here with you, Sarah. And thanks everyone for your questions. It's nice to have them. I'm excited to explore them today.
So the first question is a good question, actually, because I think this is coming from people who know me. And so the question is, why are you doing this with Forrest? I think, first of all, we should say a little bit about what this is, actually, just to give a little bit of context. Forrest, do you want to say a little bit about what this Wellbeing Economy event is all about?
Yeah, there's so many things that I could say. Well, practically, I'll say this is a 3-day event that's happening in person in the Netherlands next month. So July 4th, 5th, and 6th, just outside of Amsterdam. And what we're doing is bringing together a group of people who are passionate about making the well-being economy real. And for me, what that means is there's a place that we can live our life from. We call it the ground of well-being. And we might model that and speak from the ground of well-being, being relationship from the ground of well-being today. But this is a 3-day immersive training and a 3-day opportunity for people to come in contact with the ground of well-being inside of our own consciousness, inside of our own bodies, inside of our own experience, and to have a 3-day experience of what it's like to be in relationship from the ground of well-being, to really feel in a really deep level, get a deep cellular transmission and nervous system reattunement to what it's like to live life from the place where more money, more well-being, more impact, and more good in the world are an emanation and a byproduct of the way that we come from and relate with our experience.
And to me, that is what we often long for. Those of us who are in business long for the well-being. Those people who are very curious and invested in their well-being often long for more wealth, more impact, to actually be able to make a difference. And of course, if you grow your well-being, the most natural thing in the world to do is to want to share that. They go so naturally together, well-being and wealth. I always say that well-being, like the deep kind of well-being that we're talking about here, which is not really about, how often do I meditate every day and what supplements do I take? It's a state that's inside you. It's a space. It's an experience that's inside you. That well-being is the foundation of wealth. You can't really experience wealth if you don't have well-being, not true wealth. You'd always feel you're missing something. But when you experience that level of well-being, the most natural thing in the world to do is to share it with others and to create wealth in your community, whatever your community is, through that sharing. It's an inevitable consequence. And so to me, the well-being economy grows out of the cultivation of this beautiful ground of well-being. I talk about the well of being, this place where well-being arises from within us. And then it's the most natural thing in the world for us to share that, because there's an abundance to be shared. And of course, wealth is based around the sharing of our abundance. So the question I've been asked is, why am I doing this with Forrest? Well, I'm going to answer that question. Maybe it's already obvious to some extent, because there's a language which is more than words. It's an experience and a resonance that we share around well-being that I don't find commonly. And my experience with this well of being and this ground of well-being really started to kick in last year, when I was looking very actively for a deeper form of well-being. And I talked to Forrest a few months ago. We've had many conversations before, and he started talking about his experience last year of well-being and reaching this fundamental well-being. It's like, oh, we're talking about the same thing, but coming from different angles. And then he talked about the well-being economy, and it's like, well, that's what my work is all about. And so it barely even took a conversation. We just said, oh, let's do an event together, because it was such a natural thing for us to go there. It's like that shared experience of well-being automatically turns into doing something together. That's an actual living example of the well-being economy, a little example. Forrest, maybe there's an equal question of why are you doing this with me?
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, again, well, first of all, I'll just say I feel touched hearing what you're speaking to, and it's been a beautiful journey you and I have been on together over the years. And one of the reasons I'm doing this with you is that every time you and I do something together, it turns out to go really beautifully and go really well. You and I have hosted several events together to date, online events. This will be our first in-person event. But leading it, for me, we invite these inquiries and invite people into spaces where we're right on the point of what's possible for humanity, right on the leading edge of consciousness, and inquiring into what does the future of money look like, and how do we finance the luminaries and the pioneers and the embodied examples of this new way of being, this new way of relating, this new way of exchanging that's coming online on planet Earth. And I say it's new, it's also like ancient and timeless in a way. It's the state that we're evoking and the state that we're being in relationship from feels like it's never not been here, although in some way there's newness to it simultaneously. And so what I love about hanging out with you, Sarah, is how deeply embodied you are in the living practice of what it's like to show up from this place. And when you and I are hanging out, I feel so deeply met. I feel so deeply met in the nuanced and refined territories that we can get into of the subtleties. There's such refined subtleties that you and I can explore together and support each other around and be in relationship about, that only come being in relationship with people who are deeply, deeply immersed and living all day, every day in the practice of, I mean, it's a living experience, breath by breath, every moment of every day, the practice of being in relationship with life, being in relationship with our business, and being in relationship with the world in a certain way and from a certain place. And so I just light up around having you in my life and being able to share what's going on for me and feel met in that and seen and have powerful reflections back that continue to open up more new moments and possibilities for what's possible from the ground of well-being.
What's really fascinating for me is that in some way I feel it's not that we come from opposite ends, because that's really not true, but I'm much older than you are. You're much younger than I am. We've talked about this a bit, and that does really make a difference. I remember what it was like, when I was much younger, and my life was less complicated. And so what I love is that you have approached well-being just, I feel really just from this sheer desire to experience well-being and to make well-being the foundation of your life. And you have immersed yourself in that and committed yourself to it and found every possible way that you can. And sometimes I feel like for me, it's come through some messy and complicated situations, just because life can get like that at times. But what's so fascinating is that we can find this place that is so shared. And when that's shared between two people, the power of the sharing of that beyond those two people is so enhanced. I know from my own experience of being able to, in minutes, share with somebody else an experience of well-being that they may never have touched before. The idea of doing that with two of us as the hosts, and really it's the group, it's the community that forms the experience. We're the people who said, yeah, we can do this. That is so alive and so enriching, even just to imagine it. And maybe right now you can feel a little bit of it. There's this rich energy that flows around when we share this stuff, when we talk about it, when we communicate about it, when we actually feel it. and when you feel it too. And I know that that's actually where the well-being economy comes from, because we get a taste for it. We get a taste for not only being like this, but working like this, running businesses like this, and then a society. And the more people who connect with that, the better. So the second question I was asked is, why Forrest rather than somebody else? And there's probably little that I need to say. It is genuinely unusual today to have this, or it has been for me, to find that kind of level of compatibility at a very deep level. At a more, as a teacher, I experience it all the time with people. But it's different. It's different to have that just, sitting down in a conversation. For me, it's a very special experience, and I feel that that's something that is worth sharing, because I know how much good comes from it, and that's the fundamental drive, in human life, is to share goodness. It's a nice thing to do. Forrest, I don't know if you have something you'd like to add on that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's several things that you've said in the last moments that I would love to speak to. One is that you were talking about what it's like when two people come together who are embodying the ground of well-being and being in relationship from the ground of well-being. And I just want to double click on that in a way and say that this is part of the invitation of what we're inviting for our gathering in the Netherlands, is that the more people who embody the ground of well-being and speak from and are in relationship from the ground of well-being, the more we create this shared resonance field of well-being. And what that means is, you could imagine there's a Wi-Fi router that's emanating out, a field of a Wi-Fi router emanating out the transmission, the frequency, the reverberations of well-being and of vitality and health and aliveness and passion and goodness and love and curiosity. And the more of us who come into this field, the more of us who embody the ground of well-being, the more of us who are sharing this resonance, who are embodying this together, the more powerful and the more pervasive that this shared resonance field becomes. And so we're going to have an opportunity for all of us to individually experience a very profound and pervasive field together. And we're also going to get to experience what's it like with each additional person, what's it like as this field grows bigger and bigger. And my felt sense deep in my body has been that once there's 10,000 of us on planet Earth embodying this field together, that the planetary systems, the currencies, the technologies, the cultures, the institutions that it's almost like you can taste the new world that wants to be born into this moment, the world that we can all feel and almost like lick, like it's so here in the unmanifest, but it hasn't quite showed up in 3D reality yet. It's like it will necessarily manifest in front of our eyes because of the field that we're collectively holding. And so I just want to speak to the power of what it's like when a group of us comes together and gets to really be nourished and satiated and resourced by the ground of well-being.
I have to share a little story that someone told me about less than an hour ago. She went to this very serious medical conference. She's a yoga teacher, and she's gone for many years, and there's this little group of alternative practitioners who show up and have everybody rolling their eyes at them every year. And the opening speech this year was by a doctor, a very eminent doctor, and he spoke about healing. And I just took that. It's like, yes, that's part of the shift, that the entire conference, at first it was like, oh, maybe we're in the wrong conference. And then they settled into it, because every doctor actually has seen healing happen. And the admission of something at a mainstream level that has been denied just through kind of frameworks of thinking, it's a wonderful sign that things are moving. I have a whole list of questions. I don't think we're going to answer all of them today. We might continue to do lives and keep answering questions. I think let's take this question. What are you personally really wanting from the event? What do you personally really want from it, Forrest?
Well, one of the things that comes to me is that I would really like to see the group of people who are most passionate about making the well-being economy real coming together and having a chance to feel met and to feel seen and really engaged with by peers and other luminaries and people who are embodied examples of this well-being economy. So my biggest passion is oftentimes I say, like, we're in consensus reality, right? And we're walking around in the world, and oftentimes we can feel a little bit lost. That's why a lot of us pursue a healing journey or pursue a developmental or evolutionary or spiritual awakening journey. And there's a common thing people say, I feel like a lone wolf, right? Like I was with everybody and I had to go off and be by myself and go my own way and leave my friends and my family and my culture and all the things that were familiar in me to listen to something deeper inside myself that I could not bring my attention to and be a part of, my own soul, my own heart, my own calling in life. And gatherings like this, gatherings like the Wellbeing Economy gathering that we're doing in the Netherlands next month, it's like an opportunity for a lone wolf pack to come together. It's like all the people who've left conventional culture and your upbringing and the context with which you were raised and everything that was familiar and had to find your own way. Now we can all come together and share in the experience and share our passion and also share our suffering, right? These are the two big drivers of evolution, our passion and our suffering, and all the ways that we're learning, all the things that we're noticing, what we're seeing, and what we sense and feel and know is possible in relationship with each other.
I'm going to answer the question too. And one of the things that I feel is important, and Forrest and I have been working on this together, literally, is how do we relate with each other in the well-being economy? And we are so used to, in our culture, letting problems fester, not calling out issues in our relationships. And we've already found it really important to be able to just be incredibly honest with each other, sometimes about little things. But I did something yesterday that didn't sit very well with Forrest, and then he sent me a message and we dealt with it immediately, and it's completely clean. There's nothing left there. And it's easy for me to say, yeah, I'm sorry about that. And yeah, actually, I think you messed up a little bit there. And, we can both do that with each other. I think this very simple experience of a healthy, open, honest, very transparent relatability and relationship with each other is an important part of the experience. So it's been actually a real joy for me in the preparation as we have conversations to have that, because so often in business it isn't like that, and there's so much energy going on under the surface, which I very much dislike. That's really important. The other thing that's important for me personally, I've spent many years recording what I call activations, and I've come to recognize that activation is a real thing. I started off activating things in other people. I wasn't sending my energy to people. I was creating a space where somebody could find an increased aliveness in a specific area of their life. So maybe it was about self-love, and we were activating self-love, and they would find their version of self-love more strongly. And what's happened over the years is I've found ways to do that at a collective level. And there are times, and this doesn't happen all the time, when I know that a group of people, by their coming together, are able to create what I would call a state change in the global economy without us needing to be the big players in the world. We do it through what Forrest has been talking about, this energy, the love, the depth of that well-being and the desire for a well-being economy. We do it through the combination, the way we bring our energy together, and we do it through the inner technology, if you like, of activation. And for me, this event is an activation of the well-being economy. It's not, I hope it will be, I'd love that to happen. I know when an activation is going to happen because I've been doing it for so long, and I know that that is what's happening here. And that is an experience that it's beyond what we normally experience. It's difficult to describe, but you know it when it happens, and you know it when you're participating in it. So for me, if you really care about the future, if you care about your own experience of life and business, and you care about our collective experience and what we're creating for our future, then be a part of this activation. It's an unforgettable experience. It's a moment when you know that the world has changed for the better. And to be a part of that is really different from it happening somewhere else and you never knew that it was going on. So that's my invitation to you, to come and join an experience that is deeply nourishing for yourself, that will give you that nourishment that you can bring to your business, and at the same time is an activation of that world that we know is possible and that we know that we can contribute to creating. And Forrest, your invitation?
Yeah. I'm just taking in your invitation. It feels good to receive from me. You know, if anyone who's watching this, if you're familiar with parts work at all, or if you're not, you know, there's ways that we can work with each of us individually is a collective, right? Even just in our psychology, we have these different aspects of ourselves. You might see it as your happy part or your sad part or your protector, your inner child, your inner mom, your inner father, these kind of things. And for me, what's so enriching about this event and this gathering and what we're inviting here is that from another perspective, you can see every human being as a cell in the body of humanity. And in our collective psychology, you can see all of us as a part of human mind or of the one mind. And this event gives us an opportunity to work with the myelin sheath and the neural networks in collective mind. And we have the potential to come together and lay down new tracks in our collective psyche for what's possible for consciousness, what's possible for human mind, what's possible for humanity. And so what I love about this, the invitation for me, is that you get to come together, and Sarah and I have so much we can share with you, both in the embodiment of what it's like to live life and do business and create and be in relationship from this place. So many nuanced, refined, subtle noticings that can just open up worlds, open up universes of what's possible living life from this place where more money, more impact, more consciousness, more well-being, more resource are all available to us in every moment. But also the invitation is to come and be a part of the newness, to come together and be a part of the new moment. It's not just that this gathering is not just about people coming together and Sarah and I have a bunch of things to share. That's going to happen. I mean, we have a lot of things to offer, but what we're really doing here is inviting you into a field where we're going to download the future into now. We're coming together to be in a field where new moments, right at the edge of what's possible for humanity, right at the edge of human potential, where we can be available for, where we can open up and be available for what's new and what's needed to show up in front of our eyes. And that's the invitation to you. If you are someone who feels called, if you're someone who feels compelled to be a part of downloading the future into this moment and making yourself available for newness to show up in service of your own life, your own business, your own customers, and also the one mind and humanity, our collective psyche, planet Earth, future generations to come. This event is a place that you will feel deeply at home and deeply met, and maybe experience something that you've never experienced before, because together we're going to experience things that none of us have experienced before. And that's my invitation for you in this moment.
So much looking forward to it after listening to this. So the details are below the video. If you have questions, get in touch, ask us your questions. And if you feel called, we very much look forward to seeing you there. And thank you for participating and watching this video.